lethal gas, because I think that would be better for me.
Is that still suffocation in that would
His argument, he's not suggesting I don't want to be killed, I mean, or they shouldn't be killed, he's just like, because of my current medical condition, let me have that. And so that's one of the decisions that the Supreme Court will have to determine this term. Do you think that that's appropriate, that in a special circumstances, a defendant should be able to say, hey, like the case you talked about in Alabama?
Yeah.
Should that particular defendant, instead of saying, hey, I shouldn't get the death penalty at all because of my particular physical issues, let me pick another form?
Yeah, I think it should be able to do that because the guy in Alabama, he was requested to have like a cocktail of.
That's generally how the lethal injection is done, with the 3 different drugs.
Well, like I think he was gonna drink it. That's what they were requesting because he said it would be the least painful.
Over an arsenic or?
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. But yeah, I think they should 100% have the. In that case, if they're going to be executed anyway, because then we see a case like the guy in Alabama where he was. I mean, it's basically torture for 2.5 hours.
That's crazy. That
Yeah.
one you said it for 2.5 hours, you just think that somebody at some point just would have stepped in. It's like, hey guys, it's been 5 minutes. It's not working.
Yeah, they didn't, and they're not nurses or doctors, the ones administering a lethal injection. So it's not like they knew exactly where to go or what to avoid or anything, as well as a doctor.
Have there been other trouble with the administration of the lethal injection in other states?
Yes.
2014, Clayton Lockett in Oklahoma State. He was convicted in 1999. He had lethal injection, and after 5 minutes of administering it, he started to shiver and kind of blink rapidly and not take to it very well. And then 10 minutes after, they declared him unconscious. But then 13 minutes after, he started to move his head, and he actually lifted it up off. And 15 minutes in, he was still struggling, even after they declared him unconscious. And he even spoke. He said the word man. I'm not sure if he said that out of pain. And then 16 minutes after, one of the officials in the room went over to the blinds to the witnesses and said that they're going to close the blinds momentarily. None of the witnesses ever saw them open the blinds.
Do you know what happened as a result of that?
No.
You guys think that, I mean, we've developed weapons that we can destroy the world hundreds of times over, right? I mean, do you think that we could come up with, if execution is going to remain legal, don't you think we could come up with a more humane way of executing people with all the technology and science available to us? And I don't know if there's anything in your research that spoke that, like, hey, these are things that have been discussed for a more humane way of execution.
I would say just using a bullet would probably be the most humane thing because it's lights out instantly, no pain, it's quick and effective. And I mean, you don't really have to give them a needle with different serums and stuff like that to kill them.
I don't know about any new ways people were suggesting, but if we were going off of that, I think firing squad, because it's the only one to have never gone wrong.
How many executions by firing squad? I don't know the answer, so I'm asking.
Of all time, or
Yeah, of all time. Like, so in the United States, or
We don't-
just in your study, if you guys have a
In my-
window.
yes.
If you've got a window of executions by firing squad, that.
We don't have that in our notes, but I'm pretty sure it was like 130 something around there.
130 from when? No.
1976.
A lot of studies, I think almost every single one that started taking statistics of capital punishment all started in the 70s.
Okay, so from the 70s to 90, you're saying there was what, about 130 and 100% success rate?
I have a small beef with firing squad because it's a couple shooters and only one of them has an actual bullet, the others have blanks. And I think that takes a serious toll on the people shooting because none of them know who's actually firing it. So instead of somebody who is giving an injection, they know. You have 6 people who struggle their whole life thinking that they may have killed somebody, which is a small beef.
Yeah, but it is a beef. So what about that as the executioner? If I'm the guy that pushed the button that, sent the electric charge that, electrocuted the person, or even with lethal injection, there's a button that you push that starts the process of the 3 drug administration. So what about the executioner?
Well,
Aren't they as guilty as, because hey man, I just executed somebody.
Yeah, I read an interview with a Virginia, he was an ex-Virginia executioner, and he said that almost every person involved in the process of lethal injection gets PTSD or something similar to it afterwards, or it has an effect on them.
What do you guys think about, so each of you have said you're against the death penalty, but it's legal in Kentucky, correct? So if someday you're asked to serve on a jury here in Kentucky, do you follow the law as it's stated? And if you impose the sentence, you sentence someone to death for murder, do you follow the law, or do you do what you think is more Christian or the better thing to do and not convict or not sentence in that way because you have different values? Is your duty to follow the law, or is your duty to do what you personally think is right?
So follow the law.
I don't know a whole lot about juries or the process of that, but from my point of view, I follow like what I believe.
So even if that meant, like, let's say in some situations the judge actually gets to do the sentencing, and so that if you convict the person of murder, they will be killed, capital punishment will be imposed if you convict them of murder because the heinous crime involved in these sorts of things. So are you then less likely to convict them of murder as a member of the jury because of your personal opinions about the penalty that will be imposed?
If it's convicting him of murder, and he gets the death penalty, or not convicting him, I think I would go with convicting him of murder, even if that means having the death penalty, because you can't, I guess, lie to yourself.
But if you had an opportunity to weigh in on the sentencing, you would try to make your opinion known about it.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Texas recently removed they don't give last meals to people on death row anymore because somebody ordered a lot of food. I'm not going to list everything, and then they refused to eat it because they said they weren't hungry. So they just completely abolished it.
Cost savings. Cost savings at its finest.
There's a poll, in a recent poll, 88% of people said that the death penalty doesn't act as a deterrent. So I think that obviously a majority of people are kind of on board with a lot of.
Nice job.
Yeah.
Well done.